everyone, and welcome. This is Susan Lopresti, and I just want to thank you so much for being here with me today. For those of you who don't know me, I am a holistic health coach, a Reiki and meditation practitioner, and I am very motivated, and I love supporting people who are motivated to improve their lives. And I am ready to help you to complete a life audit, remove compromises from your life, make changes so that you can experience the maximum happiness that you deserve and achieve all of your goals and your aspirations. If you have any questions during this presentation at all, please don't hesitate. You can reach out to me at susan@susanlopresti.com, and I will answer any questions that you have. So let's go on to talk about what is a life audit. And so a life audit is a very fairly straightforward concept, and yet many of us get hung up on it simply because the thought alone of doing it can be very daunting. Simply put, okay, a life audit is when you take a long, detailed, and honest look at various areas in your life to assess which are and aren't helping you live to your highest potential. So a life audit involves becoming aware of how you want your life to align with your mission and assessing your current situation to see how it alters from this. So this can involve some honest soul searching, digging deep, and often making some difficult decisions. So I will warn you that this is not for the faint-hearted. This is a process where it can be uncomfortable, but nothing happens unless we move through uncomfortability and push and break down those barriers, right? That's where the magic happens. So that's what I'm talking about here. So when carried out correctly, honestly and steadily, life audits can be incredibly empowering and inspiring. And many of my clients have noticed improvements in their life beyond the areas which they focus their attention on in their life audit. So it's not just the things that you focus on, but it becomes like a ripple effect. And then other areas of your life become more improved as well. For example, by making positive changes in your diet, let's say, your work life improves, right? And why would that be? Well, maybe you have more energy and more clarity, and you're thinking clearer because you're eating healthier foods and you're not putting processed foods in your body, which are loaded with chemicals. And maybe you're eating more natural foods and not so many heavy carbs, which are going to make you sleepy. Whatever it is, you'll see a positive change, not only in your body, but in how you perform in other areas, right? So making a change in your relationship is another thing that could also improve your environment, and how if you are in a relationship with someone where you're always fighting, your environment will not be peaceful. But if you can make changes with that relationship, your environment will now be a more peaceful place to live or work or whatever, so you need to address that. And this can be quite powerful. And today I will be discussing areas which you might need to make some changes in your life to align with your goals and your mission. And I'll always discuss ways for you to implement changes easily and what to look for as signs and signals in your outer environment that may indicate something might not be quite right in your inner environment. So we need to take a hard look at this. And have you ever done a life audit before? Or do you know anyone who has, and what their results were? I'd love to hear that experience. What's my mission? Before we go any further, I will stress that doing a life audit without a clear goal or idea regarding how you want your life to align will not be very effective. In order to make an effective life audit and truly maximize your changes of achieving happiness and purpose, you must first have a clear idea of how you want your life to appear and to feel afterwards. Some people call it a mission, some people call it a vocation, and others will call it a calling. No matter what word you use to describe it, it all comes down to a sense of purpose, fulfillment, and achievement we receive from integrating and balancing our work with our personal lives and our personal goals. And it might be that you see yourself cultivating a healthier lifestyle, and that's great. But what does that entail? Vaguely labeling what you want greatly decreases your chances of achieving that goal. To succeed, you really must dig deep. You must examine your wishes. You need to be critical and you need to be detailed in your approach and how you create your plan of action. A personal mission statement will help you to articulate your values and your beliefs to determine your personal definition of success and share your talents with the world, right? That's what we ultimately want to do. It will generate a sense of clarity and focus around what it is that you're trying to achieve by doing a life audit. The crucial thing to note here is that everybody's mission statement will be different. No matter what you field, what you work in, what your personal life looks like, or what your goals are, there is one key fact. You have to find your why you want to do this. And I have a great article that talks about the importance of having a personal mission statement. So if you're really serious about this, I'm encouraging you to go back to the note and check out those links and get in deep, right? So I have an article about developing a personal mission statement. Go back and look at that. How to make a mission statement. The best way to get to the bottom of your mission is to follow these steps that I'm going to lay out and dedicate a small amount of time to simply write. So if you want, grab a pen and paper, or this is recorded. You could go back and watch it again and again if you want. But either way, the first step that you want to do is you want to write down a list of what your ideal life looks like. In the perfect world, how would your life be? Where do you see this life audit taking you? Right? Some areas to take into account when doing this include relationships, career, your environment, and that could be work and living environment, your goals, your motivation, your passions, and your pastimes. So that's what we want to look at, right? Number 2, you want to write down what your current situation looks like in each area that I just talked about. So I'll give them to you again. Relationships, career, your environment, work or home or both, your goals, your motivations, what are your passions, and your pastimes. So you need to, in each of these areas, you need to be open, you need to be honest, and you need to be critical. Maintaining an impartial stance can help here. It really can. And if you were another person looking at your life, how would you describe it? So look at what all these areas from a different standpoint. How would someone else look at these areas of your life? And then, and this is the most important part, you want to compare the two. You want to compare your ideal life with your actual life and compare the two. How far off are you? This is a very powerful exercise to clearly show you which areas of your life you need to focus on and where the biggest changes need to be made. It will help you to gain clarity and maybe even show you things that you weren't aware of. So you're bringing awareness to this whole entire thing. Alignment and self-awareness. The reason why clarifying your personal goals and mission statement is so important lies within the innate power that we all possess to create and manifest our desires. If you're not sure what these desires are, then how on earth are you going to achieve them? Right? So you need to know. So you need to draw your attention inward and align your actions with your goals and your core beliefs. And this is a surefire way to start a life audit on the right track. Studies have shown that long-term focus and clarity produce far more effective results because the mind is ultimately an extremely powerful tool. The thoughts we have are a direct manifestation of our conditioned beliefs, our habits, our existing neural pathways, which scientists have proven can be redirected by cultivating more self-awareness. So the more self-aware you are in relation to making a life audit is crucial. Without self-awareness required to identify issues and potential threats to your mission statement that might still be playing an active role in your life, they will stay there. And any changes that you might be striving for will ultimately result in failure. We all possess the capacity to heal and transform our lives. It's up to us and our mindset. So I'm putting an article that I'm sharing that's really insightful, and it was published by Deepak Chopra, his center, the Chopra Center. It's a very powerful read, and I urge you to check it out. The link will be in the description of the class. Progressive mental alignment. Psychologists have ascertained the benefits of what they call progressive mental alignment, or PMA for short, for achieving goals and also making large life changes. Life audits fall into this category of large life changes. And while intelligent decision-making and awareness have always been known to affect the level of life satisfaction that we achieve, the science behind PMA examines the subconscious inhibitors we all possess in our brains, which prevent large-scale and long-term changes from taking effect permanently. And they're deep. They're really deep. And according to the PMA website, recent discoveries have revealed improvement blockers called bad clusters to be the root cause of negative influence on our thinking processes, on our beliefs, on our decisions, our actions, our behavior, and even on our health, leading to an inner resistance against change and improvement. Therefore, if something is mentally getting in the way of achieving your goals, PMA will help you make changes to realign with beliefs and thought patterns that will help you to alter this. Progressing in alignment with your clear mental and emotional goals is far more beneficial than progressing blindly simply because you feel that you should be, right? We can think of this in terms of life auditing and use it as a way to go forward with this process. So I'm putting a link about with more information about PMA, and I really encourage you to go and check out these links. So, Core Values 101. Before embarking on any big life decision or life change, core values must be clarified. It's important to clarify core values in order to ensure that any change or decision made is in alignment with your core values to maximize success. Core values are fundamental beliefs by which we live our lives. And they dictate our behavior, our decisions, our actions, and whether consciously or unconsciously, they are, in essence, our understanding of the difference between what is right and what is wrong. In order to audit your life to a more positive place of authenticity or personal fulfillment, it's crucial to identify core values. No positive change in your life will be long-lasting if you do not align with your core values. I'd like you now to think of 3 people in your life who have influenced you the way you see the world. And this could be your starting point for identifying your core values. So think of 3 important people in your life and how they view their core values and how that's affected you in your life. So how to recognize your core values. When we don't honor our core values, our mental, our physical, emotional, and also spiritual state is where we experience discomfort. So sometimes this can be obvious. The uncomfortable feeling of knowing some information about our friend's cheating partner, for example, is an obvious state of unease, which stems from an act that we perceive as negative. And it might suggest that honesty and integrity are very high on your list of core values. And other times it may not be so obvious, right? So things like feeling of dis-ease about other people's actions, which you may not be able to justify or explain, or even some unconscious habits that you've picked up that deep down you know don't make you feel good, but your clarity on the matter is too blurred for you to see why that is, right? It's really deep down. So let me give you some examples of core values that you could include but are not limited to. So this is just going to give you some ideas, and we're going to start. And again, you may want to write this stuff down or go back and rewatch. So number 1, health and well-being. When your health and your well-being is at the core of your personal values, you are more likely to make healthier decisions regarding food, drink, exercise, mental stimulation, downtime, and overall physical and mental health. Number 2 is family and relationships. People who value family over other aspects of their lives are likely to thrive best in a positive home environment and make decisions that are based around how they view their family, and their personal life will be affected, right? Then there's creativity. If you're a creative person, then your art will undoubtedly inhabit an important place among your day-to-day pursuits. Cultivating creativity and finding new ways to express yourself will rank highly on your agenda. Then teamwork. So in a business or work environment, having a core value that places importance on teamwork above other aspects of the work environment will mean that the way you choose to conduct your business will revolve around the people and the team that you surround yourself with. The next step is to write your list of core values. Don't compare it to anyone else. turn inward and do the work. And for help identifying your core values, I'm going to put a link in the description of the class that you could go back and read, and that may help you. I want to talk about identifying wants versus needs. This is commonly encountered theme which many people struggle to honestly identify your needs over your wants. And ask yourself the following questions, and this may help you to identify, right? So what do I need to be happy? This question will almost always allow you to align closer to your core values. What is it that you need to be happy? Number two, what do I think I need to be happy? These things usually prove to be wants disguised as needs. So what do I think I need to be happy? Number three, are there things that I want which can be done without? So number four, what are those things that you think you want, but can be done without? You don't really need them. They're more of a want than a need. What are they? Be honest and be open with yourself about these needs. A life audit won't work unless you get used to dealing with some of the uncomfortable stuff that is going to start coming up. There are some correlations between needs and core values. The main way to distinguish between them, as the author of the article that I'm going to list below explains, is that needs are generally more immediate and fleeting than values. So this means that our day-to-day needs fluctuate on a daily basis, and our values greatly remain the same over time. So I'll put the link to that so you could check it out. Start analyzing your relationships. Relationships are a commonly occurring theme amongst people's list and core values that may need to be reevaluated during a life audit. So no matter how big or small a role people play in your life, it's important to take adequate time to consider the quality of that relationship when seeking to make personal changes. The nature of relationships can mean that sometimes the conversations surrounding your life audit and any changes that might need to be made can feel a little bit awkward or even cause some pain to come to the surface. As much as you can change your own beliefs and your habits and everyday practices to suit your new lifestyle, the fact remains that you cannot change another person's opinion or image. And this is very important to remember. So to analyze your current relationships, let's say number one, you need to try to objectively look at your relationship with family, with certain friends or friend groups, and with your significant others. Number two, you need to take into account the dialogue and the general sense of positivity or negativity that you receive from these interactions. Do you feel drained and wiped out after a conversation, or are you inspired and motivated to move forward in your life? Where do these conversations leave you? And number three, note if the relationships are taking you closer to your core values or not. So if someone is draining you every time you're talking to them, if you're trying to be more positive in your life and your friend is nothing but doom and gloom and negativity, you may need to think about limiting the amount of time that you spend talking to her or being with her or him or whoever it is. Right? So one vital thing to any successful relationship is an underlying agreement or similarity of some key core values. If these are not present, it may be time to make some changes in the relationship. And here is a really insightful article that I'm going to put in the notes that speaks about the patterns in relationships that we tend to repeat over time, being as a direct result of the childhood care that we received. So if you're an enabler, let's say, in your relationships, that's a direct correlation to the way you were brought up. And you need to come to terms with that. You need to see your behavior and be honest. It's very difficult. I'm not saying it's an easy process, right? I have an article that I'm going to put the link for that with Psychology Today, and they will talk about the childhood care that you received and how it's affecting your life. So now we want to identify your conditioned patterns. So no matter if it's a complete life audit you're trying to achieve or seeking to make a few simple changes to improve the quality of your life, it's vital that you identify any conditioned patterns in your behavior or your thought patterns that may be hindering your progress. So conditioned beliefs refer to the subconscious beliefs and attitudes that we form as young children, generally between the ages of 0 and 6 years old. So this time of our life is so pivotal. It's so important to how we're going to progress in adulthood. These patterns form as a direct result of our immediate environment, the people that we come in contact with, generally, which when we're 0 to 6 years old, are our parents, our extended family, our siblings, and perhaps some teachers that you've come in contact with, right? This is the attitude of our parents and our caregivers as we grow up. So part of identifying our core values is to identify these thought patterns and to acknowledge the impact that they have or had upon our actions and our current life situation. No matter what the goal is, conditioned beliefs can be some of the most hindering obstacles we will encounter as we strive to better our lives. They are difficult because they can often be difficult to identify. And when we do, it's often even more difficult to accept them because we have to come to terms with that. It can help to contemplate specific habits and patterns or behaviors you feel you may have inherited from a young age. And once you identify them, it's time to separate yourself from them. They are not yours, and you have no obligation to follow them. It's simply a matter of changing your habits. And I have a great article that explains and some direct examples of conditioned beliefs and how they impact our lives and our goals. Environment check. Another important element of our daily lives, which impacts our mental and our physical health more than you may realize, is our environment. Things like the place where you live, the space where you sleep, the area that you work in, and even the quality of light and air and sound in these places can influence your perception of life. During your life audit, thinking about how these various elements of your current living environment might be impacting the problems that you identify is key to beginning the process of changing them. So again, you may want to write this down, ask yourself some questions. Is your house cluttered? Science has proven that cluttered and messy living spaces actually significantly affect our happiness, our clarity, and also our anxiety levels. So if you think it's just that your house is messy and you don't want to invite anyone over, you're there and it's affecting you. You may be embarrassed to show you're cluttered to other family and friends, but it's affecting you as well. Is your home environment dark or light, large or small? These factors can also impact your overall mentality. When we get home after a long day, the space we considered our home is a vital element of how we form our personal internal landscape. If you're aware that something in your environment needs changing, then it's worth taking the time to do so, even if it means investing a little bit more money or time or effort than you've become accustomed to. So do a spring cleaning. Donate unworn clothing to charities or organize a clothes swap with some friends, and maybe you want to switch clothes or whatever. Simply clearing out. The possibilities are endless when you get going. Once you start the momentum of eliminating clutter and junk, it becomes like an obsession now, and everything in this area looks clean. Let me go over to this area, and you just, like, it snowballs, and it's such a great feeling, and it changes your perspective on how you feel when you walk into your house. So it's important. And let's talk about career change, perhaps, right? So part of our everyday lives, which can prove the most difficult to alter, can come in the form of negative workspaces. Identifying whether the problem lies in your actual job or simply in the environment in which you do your job every day can help to clarify this somewhat. So if you identified your career as an area which causes needless stress and anxiety for you, and not just the space in which you work every day, then challenge yourself to tackle these issues head on by analyzing the potential for change. So let's ask yourself a couple of questions. Do you have to stay in the office? Or is there a possibility that you could work from home? Is it possible to find a new position in a similar field? Do you have the resources and or desire to upskill and change directions completely? Remember that career change does not mean that you have failed. I want you to keep this in mind. And not only does it not mean that you failed, it also does not mean that you're not skilled. It actually reflects positively on your ability to recognize stresses and parts of your life that are out of alignment with your core values. Ultimately, something which strengthens your core values as an employee. And as you're more likely to perform well at a job that you're passionate about, right? So why are career changes good for you? I'm putting a link that you could just look it over and give it some thought. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow, but if you can make some simple improvements that will make the environment better for you, that's great. But ultimately, if you tried a couple of things and it's really not working, it may be time for that career change. So, how to determine if you should make a career change? And let's talk about that. Even with these facts and statistics, it's normal to have some doubt about uprooting everything that you've worked hard for. Asking yourself questions like, is it the job or is it the environment? So, asking yourself some questions, right? Does my current job align with my core values and allow me to feel a true sense of fulfillment? And you need to answer that honestly. The next question, does my current workspace cause me stress and anxiety just by thinking about it? How can I make changes to rectify this? Am I using my passions and my hobbies in my work? Could I orchestrate a way to integrate them into my work life? It's understandable that career changes are among the life shifts which may not be as straightforward as others. It helps to consider the bigger picture and to plan ahead. So if it feels overwhelming, searching courses or paths of generating income that aligns with your core values and passions is really a great way to start, right? One really important thing to note, don't close yourself off to possibilities. Leave yourself open to any and all possibilities. If the career question is still causing you stress, try relaxing into the possibility that you really could do anything. Even if you don't believe it, try relaxing into that. Ask yourself the age-old question, what would you do if money wasn't an option? Believe yourself capable of starting and achieving anything, and more than likely, it will succeed. The bottom line is that getting honest with ourselves about our current situation and our work environment is the first step to making any changes. And I have another useful piece of information on changing up your work life, and I'm going to put that link in as well. Align with positive spiritual and mental health, as well as aligning with core beliefs, values, and passions. It's vital when making a life audit that you prioritize positive physical and mental health practices during and after this life audit. So after all, without health and well-being, any life changes and experiences will seem less vibrant than they could be if we weren't experiencing them with a full bill of mental and physical health, right? So something that helps is to consider all the things you could be achieving and all of the creativity and passion and mental energy you could be putting towards achieving your goals if only your mind and your body were clear and balanced enough to let the energy flow that way. You might find that if health and well-being are high up on your list of core values and you aren't heeding this, your mind and your body may be exposed to habits and things that negatively impact them. Deciding on a course of action to rectify this will be really a key to your life audit. The good news is that almost all life audits involve improving some areas of health and well-being that are currently not being attended to. And as you're going through the typical areas of your life audit, ask yourself how each one makes you feel and how it impacts your mental and your physical health. It should be a very big factor in many of your decisions. And I have a piece that outlines some life changes that you can take which will improve your mental health. So I will put that link in the notes. Meditation and how it can help. Meditation is not a new phenomenon. In fact, the fascinating thing about it is that it's centuries-old method of silencing the mind and tuning into emotions and the present moment. It's only since the Western world got wind of it in the late 20th century that studies began to investigate the benefits of engaging in regular meditation on your mind, body, and your soul. Okay, so that clearly, I mean, if you know the name of my business, it's Susan Lopresti Wellness, Mind, Body, Soul. And so clearly, good health is more than just the food on your plate. So let's go on with that. Meditation is really going to make a difference in your life. Sometimes meditation might lead us to realize that we should make a life audit. Some people may only begin meditation as a means of making some changes. And many of us start meditating with the intent of solving some mental chatter that writing lists and planning just won't stop. A life audit is designed to increase your overall sense of self-awareness, happiness, and well-being, and meditation fits nicely into this equation. The following article by Forbes that I'm going to put in the notes examines the effects of meditation on a control group of working people who practiced loving kindness meditation over a 7-week period. I want you to go back and listen to that link. And have you ever tried meditation? And if so, how does it make you feel? And if you want to email me at susan@susanlopresti.com, I'd love to hear your answers. Fitness and health is all connected. And it's not uncommon to find a large portion of your life audit revolves around increasing your fitness level or optimizing your health. Know that there's very little that won't be affected by improving this area of your life, right? So here's how to make it work for you. Make fitness a priority, but don't get too obsessed about it. You might find that you go through phases of being super dedicated to a fitness plan, and then you fall off the bandwagon once in a while. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's not necessary to beat yourself up over it, to feel guilty about it, because I'm here to tell you it's perfectly normal. The majority of people do this. So, number 2, set small, achievable fitness goals. To combat the periodic spurts of fitness focus, right? Set yourself small, achievable goals. Chances are you're going to need your energy to spend elsewhere in your life audit and your quest, your life quest, right? So we wouldn't do to have too much of this energy gone in one place. So 10 or 15 minutes a day of whatever activity brings you joy and is aligned with your lifestyle and your goals and your circumstances will give you much more happiness and satisfaction than pushing yourself for 2 hours in an unhealthy activity, an environment that makes you feel anxious just thinking about it. How is that helpful? It's not. So just spend whatever feels comfortable for you. And if you fall off the wagon and you don't exercise for a week, okay, brush it off and pick up when you're ready. If you haven't already set out to maximize your fitness and your health as part of your life audit, I'd strongly recommend taking it into consideration. It doesn't have to be a huge change, like I just said. Just knowing that becoming a little bit more aware of how you move your body and what you take in will ultimately increase your chances of changing your life and will boost the effects of the changes that you make elsewhere. In case you need a little bit more inspiration, I'm going to put an article outlining how fitness can change your life in ways that you might not have ever thought about. And then I want to talk about a digital reset. In our modern age of digital obsession, and I'm guilty of it myself, it can be difficult to see the true impact that online hours are having on our happiness. If you're among the 2.56 billion, yes, I said billion, people who use social media, then it's highly likely that you've encountered the addictive and damaging nature of being consistently online that impacts society today. There's no hiding from it. Our online life has now become almost synonymous with our day-to-day lives. with couples staring at screens together rather than, at each other, kids stuck inside playing video games and online games rather than being outside with a group of kids playing and running and jumping and moving their bodies. If this very image of getting stuck in a non-existent reality that plays into our lives, needing a reboot, or possibly even has to do with why you find yourself here today, right? In fact, doing a digital detox has been linked to such things as increased productivity, increased positivity, better or more regulated sleep patterns, improved relationships. So therefore, it's definitely something that you should consider when taking the initiative to do a life audit. And here I'm going to put a link that describes a digital reset and how it can affect your mental health. So how to do a digital detox? There are many ways to do a digital detox, and yet be aware that they may not all fit into your new life audit plan. For instance, if you work online or you use social media as part of your business or marketing strategies, like I do, it can be difficult to avoid the necessity of online hours. And here is where I want to really clarify something. Social media can be very beneficial when you use it in the right ways. In order to determine how best to fit social media into your new life plan, it's helpful to assess why, when, and how you use it. Do you check your phone first thing in the morning? Do you find yourself mindlessly scrolling through social media with no agenda whatsoever? Are there certain people you only contact through social media? If so, could you possibly ask them to use another messaging platform so you can lower your usage of social media? Because once you go on to check your message, then you go into like this hole of looking at the post and seeing whose birthday it is, and you just get sucked in. So instead of doing Messenger through social media, send me an email. And I won't get caught up in all the other stuff, right? Are you drawn to your smartphone or your laptop whenever you get bored? Does social media lower your productivity? Are you honest about that? Are there any positive emotions that are generated from being online? Now that you asked yourself these questions, I have an amazing link that outlines some ways of periodically detoxing from social media. So you may want to look at that if you feel that you're guilty of really spending more time than necessary on social media. Have any of you had an experience with detoxing from social media? How was that? Do you have any tips that you'd like to recommend? You can always email me, susan@susanlopresti.com, and let me know about that. So decluttering and clearing your space. Some people define the very act of life auditing as decluttering your life. So it may make sense to clean up your physical space and your physical environment as well as your mental space. If your home and everyday surroundings are messy and cluttered, or just possessions every which way, items and clothes that you don't regularly use or need or want, then it might be time to do a literal clear out and throw away the skin of previous lives and selves that you don't need hanging around any longer, right? It makes sense when you think about it. The more old stuff that's hanging around, the more likely that you are to go back and try try it on, or remove the temptation of this from your life and decluttering your space is really effective means of starting a life audit. So I'm going to give you a couple of tools. Again, you may want to write this down. Be honest, be brutal. It's sometimes, let's say it has to do with clothing and something that you haven't worn and what you think, I'm not going to wear this in the next month or so. Unless it's a seasonal object, get rid of it. Then do another cleanse next season. So go through your closet. If it's something that you might wear on a special occasion, but have no special occasions in the coming months to wear it, you may want to get rid of it. Is it something that you haven't used in the past 6 months? If that's the case, you may want to get rid of it. Is it something that has sentimental value or specific memories associated with it, but isn't really useful or practical for you anymore? Then get rid of it. This can be a challenging one when there's a sentimental value attached to it. But unless the value is irreplaceable, consider parting ways with it. Decluttering helps to create a clearer and a more relaxing and spacious home environment for you to begin formulating the life that you've always dreamed of. And this can be aided by the likes of diffusing essential oils or using scented candles. And I have a few more tips for decluttering, and I'll put the link in the notes of the class. And let's go on to deciding on an action plan. Once you've established a firm understanding of your core values, what needs to be changed in your life, and faced some of the underlying root causes of existing problems, it's time to make an action plan, right? So once you've established all of this, now it's time to get busy. This can be tailored to suit you in many different ways. Most people find it easier to keep it as simple as possible, which is my suggestion. The key to a good action plan is to be realistic, yet honest and open with your goals. You've already written down how you see your ideal life playing out. So now is the time to put your plan into action. Action plan. Breaking down your goals into categories is a good way to proceed. And I'm going to give you some example. So for work goals, maybe your plan of action is to negotiate a promotion, right? Relationship goals. Here's an example. Spend more time with my parents. Meet up with friends more during the day instead of nights out. Health goals. Spend 1 hour being physically active 3 times a week. Use what you have identified as your core values, your beliefs, your existing resources, and your overall goals to determine a clear course of action. And you may want to try this. It's called the Stop, Start, More of, Less of formula. So this is a very practical and effective life auditing tool that is a great way to bluntly assess what you need to do and how you need to do it. So here's an example, and this is just an example, and everyone will be different. Stop procrastinating and overanalyzing situations. So again, stop procrastinating and over-analyzing situations. Start exercising every day for 20 minutes. Make more time for loved ones. Spend less time eating out. So do you see the difference? Right? It's very simple. It's a simple action plan. This basic life audit plan is simple, it's structured, it's to the point, and it's easy to follow. It doesn't quite get you to the root of existing problems, but that's why this action plan is undertaken after the core values and underlying truths have been established. It comes down to the simple task of making small changes every single day and aligning your decisions to meet your mission. So if anyone is wondering where I got any of my information from, I am always happy to share my resources. You can email me at susan@susanlopresti.com and I'll be happy to share my resources. So I want to talk about staying on your toes. There are so many ways that you can start on the path of auditing your life today, and it ultimately can be a very personal path that only you can clearly define. What works for one person may not work for another. It's important to remain self-aware and be able to honestly identify issues when they arise in your life examination and action plan. It's time for us to part ways, but I do want to give you just one final tip, and that is be consistent. If you plan on achieving change, right, you must consistently follow through on these plans. This means not skipping over elements of your action plan or half-heartedly completing part of what you wish to achieve. That's not going to work. You need to be honest. This follows the rest. Being honest and open with yourself about what it is that you want to achieve, the practical resources available to you to do so, and the belief and the drive that you wish to cultivate is crucial if you are to see any lasting changes. So don't lose heart. If something goes wrong, and it probably will, right? It's inevitable. It's vital that you don't give up hope. Merely use this setback as a means to propel you forward and keep you striving toward your goals that you know that you're capable of achieving. Be self-aware, be self-motivating. Notice when you begin to slack on your goals, or if you let one aspect of your goals slide. There's nothing quite as empowering as motivating yourself to get back on track. So that's it for me today. It's really just the start of something great for you. Make sure to make a commitment to go back over the topics that we covered today. So either go back to your notes or watch this presentation again and note your own responses. Answer the questions related to your life and the elements that you might wish to change, and really dig deep. On that note, I'm going to invite you to go to my website, www.susanlopresti.com. From there, you can learn a lot more about me. You'll see all of the health coaching programs that I'm currently have available to you. And you can also schedule a free 30-minute health assessment with me to go over any topic that you may be struggling with in regards to your health and your wellness in any area of your life. So it could be food, it could be diet of whatever, diet that you may want to try. It could be about relationships, just about anything at all. It's a 30-minute free health assessment where I may be able to shed some light on why you're struggling, and that may be all that you need to push yourself forward. You are under no obligation whatsoever to continue with me. So again, thank you so much. If you watched until the end, I so appreciate you. And until the next time, be well, stay happy, and bye for now. Take good care, everyone.